Today we are unlocking one of the most powerful concepts in the object-oriented programming, that is classes and objects. If you have ever felt overwhelmed by the terms like OP, don't worry, you're in the right place. By the end of the session, you won't just understand classes and objects, you will be able to use them confidently to write clean, reusable, and scalable code. So let's dive in. Let's talk about something familiar, Instagram. Think about it. Instagram has millions of users, each with a unique name, bio, profile picture, and a list of followers. But there is a thing, Instagram doesn't code every user from scratch. Instead, Instagram has a template for a user. What I mean by that? Instagram knows that every user has a common properties like a username, bio, and a profile picture. Every user can perform certain actions like posting on a photo, liking a post, or following someone. This template is what we call a class in programming. It defines what every user should have, like a username, bio, and followers, and what every user can do, like post, comment, or follow. And when you create an actual user on Instagram, like you and me, that's called an object. It's an individual instance of the class. So here's the big idea. A class is the blueprint or a recipe for creating objects. An object is the actual thing created from that blueprint. Now imagine trying to code Instagram without classes. For every user, you would have to manually write the same properties and actions again and again. Sounds like a nightmare, right? That's why classes and objects are so powerful. They let you write efficient and reusable code. So let's bring this concept into Python. We will write a user class to represent an Instagram users. Let's start writing code. First, we'll be defining the class, which is nothing but the template for Instagram users. So we start by defining a class called user. This is our template for Instagram users. The keyword class tells Python, hey, I'm making a new class. The next we have the init call or init method. This is a special method in Python called the constructor. It runs automatically when you create an object from the class. So here we define username, bio, and profile picture. And since this objects will have different properties, for example, if I create the Instagram account, I will have my username. So the username will be given as an user input, similarly with the bio and the profile picture. And we can assign this user inputs to our properties. So we call them attributes. These are nothing but the properties every user will have. So here is what's happening inside the init method. The first one is the self. This is a reference to the object being created. Think of it as the object saying, hey, this is me. So next is the username, bio, and a profile picture. These are the parameters we pass to initialize the user's attributes or the user's properties, the properties of the object. And self.username equals to username. What this line does is it simply means we are assigning the value of the username parameter to the object's username attribute. It's like taking the user input and initializing or creating that object with that username. So attributes are the properties that describe the object. In our case, self.username is the user's unique handle. Self.bio is their personal bio. And self.profile picture is their display picture. Next, in a class, we have something called methods. So method is nothing but the action that every user can perform. And we define action with the def keywords. So there are some words in the Python that are reserved for specific things, like def is for defining methods. So we define the method called follow, which takes self and another user as an input. So as the name suggests, this is an action that all users can perform. Notice how it takes another user as an argument. It lets one user follow another and it returns a message confirming the action. For example, we can simply return self.username followed another user. This is an S string where we can directly use variables inside the string like this. So for example, if there is a user called Alex who follows the Taylor, so this will return Alex followed Taylor. So methods like this makes objects dynamic. They can do stuff. Alright, now that we have built the class, let's create some users. I mean actual objects and see it in action. So here's we will create users. Creating objects, or we can say it as individual user. So let's call our first user as user1. We can create a user object from the user class by calling class like this. And as I told you earlier, this invokes the constructor which creates the object, and we have to give in all the arguments that constructor needs. The first one is the username. Let's give it Alex123. And the second is the bio. For bio, let's give it love, coding, and coffee. And third is the profile picture. So for profile picture, let's give it a string as of now. I mean the address of the picture. Okay. And similarly, let's create another user that we call user2. Similarly, we invoke the user class with different arguments. Let's call the user2 as Taylor. And Taylor has the username of Taylor456. Similarly, for Taylor, the bio would be travel enthusiast. And let's give the address of Taylor's profile picture. So that's it. Now, how do we know that these users exist? So for that, let's try to access their properties. So accessing attributes. So we can simply print here user1.username, and we can print user2.bio. And let's try to run this code. So here it is. The user1.username is the Alex123, and here we get the same. And the same for the user2 bio, it's the travel enthusiast, and we get the travel enthusiast in the console. Let's also try to call the methods that we have defined in our class. Since we know that this follow method returns a string, so we can say result is equals to user1 dot follow user2. And let's print the result. Let's try to run this code. Oh, here it says Alex2 followed, and it prints out the object. That means something is wrong. Let's check out our follow method. It says self.username followed another user, and it should be another user.username, right? Let's try to run the method again, and awesome. Alex123 followed Taylor456. Amazing, right? So here we have created two objects, user1 and user2. This process is called instantiation, where we use the class to create objects. When we write user1 and in the parentheses, we give it some arguments like Alex123, love coding and coffee, and the image. Python calls the init method, passing it the values we provided to initialize the attributes. Now, once the object is created here, we can access its attribute using dot notation. For example, we can say user1 dot username or user2 dot bio. And finally, we use the follow method to make one user follow another. When we call user1 dot follow user2, it returns a string. Alex1 followed Taylor456. Cool, right? Now let's zoom out for a second. Why are classes and objects are such a big deal? Think about apps like Instagram, YouTube, or Netflix. They all rely on millions of objects like users, videos, playlists, comments, likes, all created from classes. Without classes, building apps at this scale would be nearly impossible. Classes let you write clean code, reusable code, and that's very easy to manage and expand as your app grows. Now it's your turn. Here's a quick challenge for you. Create a class called book. Every book should have a title, author, and a price. Add a method called apply discount that should take discount percentage as an input, and that should calculate the price after a discount. So create a few books object, apply discount, and share your code in the comment or in the discussion forum. Let's see your creativity, and I'll see you in the next video.